welcome back to Winding Paths, where we explore women's unique and interesting career paths. Today, we're talking about how to get a foot in the door and move up quickly in a new company. I invited Tyra Pirbhai, People Operations Manager at MeetEdgar, to share her unique journey with us. Welcome, Tyra.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Tyra, you have a very diverse background. You graduated with a degree in business and IT, then you ran your own spa as an esthetician. You've been a receptionist, and now you work for a remote tech company. One thing I've noticed, though, a common thread, so to say, has been that you always work with people. So what have you learned about supporting and interacting with people from diverse backgrounds through all of these roles?
Well, my journey from the IT world into more of the people world mostly happened because I felt like really good at working with computers, and I know computers and technology really well. Came easy to me, but as I was working in that industry, I found that I was missing something, and that big part that I found was that I was missing working with people. I was missing the interaction, just the direct support, the conversation. So I actually moved countries. I studied and grew up in London, UK, and then I moved to Vancouver, Canada, which is where I am now. And I thought it'd be great to embark upon a new adventure, a new industry even. And what I did was I explored the world of spa and aesthetics therapy, super different. But I knew that there was a lot of affinity for me with just aesthetics and making things look good. I had this dream of being an interior designer when I was little. So it kind of falls in the same realm of just making things look nice. And there was also a huge people component and the ability to learn a lot more about myself. So I started the course in aesthetics and spa therapy. Once I graduated, I was working in a spa with people, and although my role was vastly different, I was able to bring the skills of the IT and business background into the spa that I was working at. So it quickly became my role to not only support and service customers and clients, but to update our website and help with marketing promotions and talk about business ideas and creating new strategies. So I was able to marry the two, and I thought that it was really great for me to be able to draw upon both of my skills. And then I continually progressed from that point to opening my own spa. And with the business and IT background, it felt very easy for me to just fall into that role. And that was a lot more scary, opening your own business. And it was never on my agenda. I never thought that I would ever do that, but it was a really exciting, courageous, and eye-opening journey for me, for sure.
Well, it seems like you moved up fairly quickly in all of these roles. You got in, you were able to take on new opportunities, not in spa, for example, working with people, but also doing some of the marketing, etc. And the same happened at MeetEdgar. You got in as a customer experience pro, and now you are their people operations manager. Some would feel it is hard kind of sometimes taking, a step back to then leapfrog forward. So my question for you is, what are your thoughts on, taking that step back to get a foot in the door, and what steps have you taken to kind of get promoted that quickly?
The first steps I took were to evaluate and find a company that had the right culture, the right fit, that had the right values, that really aligned with me and how I wanted to work. There was a position open that was the customer service role. Once I had joined the company and was part of that team, I have a very intuitive nature. I like to take care of people, as per my background in the spa therapy world. And so I was just being myself and taking care of things that were not particularly in my job description. And that's how I've operated for the most case in all of my roles, is to do things that are outside of my specific responsibilities or duties, just because I see that something might need to be done. The CEO actually noticed that I had all these skills and I guess even a passion for it. So they created a role within the operations team and asked if I would be interested in moving into that role. And ever since then, I've been, using that same formula to keep progressing. And I started off as just an ops or operations assistant. And now I'm the people operations manager, which in a short time of 8 to 9 months is that's how long it took for me to change the title.
You mentioned kind of negotiating a whole new role and that didn't even exist. That's really something else. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about really what were some of these specific actions that have served you, not only in this particular role, but you've done this multiple times where you get in at a certain level and you get promoted quickly, into roles that might have not existed. So
I guess the specific ways I feel like the role was created is just from me taking initiative in things that I saw that might need doing. So I worked at a PR firm a few years ago, and I started off as the receptionist. The company was pretty small at the time, and there were, other things that could use support. For example, we had a part-time accountant who had a lot of admin things to do, and the receptionist role was not to help the accountant at all, or even the president of the company, because he had an EA. But I began fostering relationships with everyone on the team, and then would offer my support. For example, I offered support to the accountant who was really happy and really encouraged me and taught me what, some things in the accounting or billing world, which was completely new to me. So it was also, I'm learning new skills as I'm supporting. And then same with the president of the company. When the EA would need to take a sick day or be away, I would fill in, even though that wasn't the role of the receptionist. But I offered that since I'm here and I have bandwidth and I'm happy to help, I can support. It was to my advantage because I learned all these new skills. And also the accountant and the EA at the time actually went to my manager and said, look at all these things that she's been doing. I think she needs to be promoted from receptionist to a new role, because we can see that her skill set's super strong in these areas. To which then I helped to hire for my replacement. And the role that was created for me, I got to do things like migrate the entire company from, Microsoft server that was in-house to Google Mail and being on the cloud. And they were very impressed and surprised that I could do that. And that was me able to leverage that from my past skills. So even though the job didn't initially say that we needed these things, or the company didn't even know they needed these things, I could just see spaces and gaps that I could use my own skills. And even though in some areas I didn't have those skills yet, I still showed that eager, willing to learn attitude, which is quite evident. My personality is very much, I love a variety of things. I love to learn new things. I get bored doing one same thing all the time. So it's really fun for me to do many things.
I love hearing that. And I really love, again, how you stepped up to take on these new initiatives. And also as part of that, started building these relationships where other people would advocate for you, where other people would, help create these new roles, which I think is, super important, and also shows kind of the influence that you started having or start having through these organizations. And building strong relationships is definitely something I think is super important as we're wanting to move through an organization quickly. One thing that you did mention earlier is this notion of actually finding a company that is the right fit for you, that has a culture fit from your end and respects your values and gives you opportunities to grow. So I guess with your current company, MeetEdgar, I'm interested to hear, what was it that really resonated with you, that you felt like, I want to get a foot in the door here versus a different company?
MeetEdgar quickly became a company that I learned was very much into their people. So they care about their people. And the companies I've worked for in the past, although they claim to take care of their people, the companies facing difficulties or changes, people can often get lost in the shuffle. And I've experienced many times that work-life balance isn't a reality. Things like growth isn't a reality. Even the opportunity to climb up the ladder, if you will, or increase your pay bracket is all sort of promised and said to you in the interview process or in the beginning stages, but the company or the CEO doesn't really advocate for you to actually bring those things into reality. MeetEdgar, I know, is vastly different, is one of the companies that is so different, and they actually stand behind their values. They care about the people to the point where I remember in my first 2 months of working with the company, I joined on with a specific pay amount, and within a month and a half later, I got a call from my manager at the time, who we actually call managers advocates because they advocate for you instead of manage you. And she said, we noticed that the pay bracket for this role has increased. The average market rate is higher than what you're getting paid, so we're going to make that adjustment. I didn't have to talk or call or try and get my pay to be fair. Like, it was done proactively by the company. When we've had features or if we've got big things going on at the company, it is still not at the expense of the employees. Our work-life balance is really important. If you're sick, nobody asks you or makes you feel bad for taking a sick day. In fact, it's encouraged. If you need a mental health day, please take a sick day. There's also so many perks and benefits that we've got that support the people. Like, for example, we have a house cleaning perk because we work from home. And so the company wants us to feel like our home is nice and clean and a positive space to work from, because they believe positive spaces will create positive work. And all of these perks are directly linked back to our values, and one of the values is kindness. There's a lot of things that the company even says that aren't necessarily anything to do with monetary value or a specific thing that you get, but it's just the holistic way. Everyone is very respected. All the other advocates and coworkers and everyone that we have on the team loves to be supportive and inclusive, and there's just so many things that align with me because I've seen so many other companies kind of use their people, not necessarily to their benefit. And MeetEdgar, I feel like, successfully made changes or like even started their whole culture with this positive, affirming, empowering feeling for their people.
Well, thank you for sharing. I love this notion of calling managers advocates, which I think if you are wanting to work for a company where you step in and kind of get that foot in the door and you want to move up quickly, again, building relationships and having people help you advocate for yourself is a very important part. Tyra, thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for being with us on Winding Paths. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.